Well, we're back with more Looney Tunes on physical media, thanks to the fine folks at the Warner Archive Collection. And they've been doing an incredible job releasing a lot of the classic animation on Blu-ray. And so far, they've done a really good job with Looney Tunes. And now they're back with the Looney Tunes Collector's Vault Volume 1. And I'm going to go through with you what's on this set and why start again in Volume 1. Because, hey, they've released 4 volumes of the Collector's Vault, either individually like this, but they've also released a 4-disc set with the same volumes in one complete package if you want to save a bit of space. But ultimately, though, you can't go wrong either way. You've got nearly 100 cartoons on those 4 Blu-rays on the original Collector's Choice set. So why start again with the Collector's Vault? That's probably the biggest question I'll be asking. Why not just have Volume 5 of Collector's Choice? And to answer that question, well, I'll start off by saying that this is not a 1-disc set, but now we've gone up to a 2-disc set. It's not quite what it used to be, where we used to be spoiled every year with 4-disc sets for the Looney Tunes Golden Collection, but hey, I'm not complaining. You're still getting 50 cartoons on one set. But also with the Collector's Vault, it's a bit of a different mission that they have. So for those who are new to collecting on physical media for Looney Tunes, the Collector's Choice set, that's rather a deep cut series. So those are the shorts that are perhaps not as well known as things like What's Opera Doc, One Frog Evening, and that sort of thing. And a lot of these shorts were already restored for streaming, but some of the files had errors like maybe they were scrubbed too much grain off, they had Photoshop titles, so there were definitely issues. By releasing those on physical media, they were able to correct a lot of the mistakes and also release shorts never before released on any physical media. Although there were 1 or 2 that were released on physical media but released unrestored. The problem with that format, as they've no doubt found out, is that they've run out of shorts to release of the most popular characters. There's really no more Bugs Bunny to release unless you want to release some of the ultra racist ones, like Bugs Bunny Nips the Nips, to give one example. Plus, certain characters like Pepe Le Pew, they've already released all of them on DVD. They've released the majority of Speedy Gonzales on DVD and Blu-ray. And so the Collector's Choice series, while in theory it's a great idea, and for 4 volumes it really was, it's become too restricted for its own good. So when you look at the Collector's Vault, they've gone now to the 2-disc format, and they've essentially made it that disc 1 is like a Collector's Choice Volume 5. So it follows the exact same format of what was done before. So you would have 3 new restorations, plus the rest were shorts that were already released on streaming, where they would go back and fix a few mistakes and get everything up to higher quality. Disc 2 is something I'm glad that they're doing. A lot of shorts were released on the Golden Collections, and they've just stayed there. But they were actually remastered in HD at the time. So not much work needs to be done to slap them on a Blu-ray. Maybe they can fine-tune things with the newer technology now, here and there, if they can maybe improve things a little, but otherwise it's pretty straightforward. Just put those extra shorts on disc, and there you go. Your problem solved. You can now have some of your heavy hitters again, so you can include more Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Foghorn Leghorn, all the other characters, and be able to have a package that's a lot more appealing to people, where you've got 1 disc full of the deep cuts and 1 disc full of all the other stuff that people may have grown up with. So I totally understand why they decided to start again in Volume 1. Plus, starting again in Volume 1 also means that people will be more enticed to begin collecting from the beginning, because as you go up in number, the sales seem to go down, because people might think, oh, it's Volume 6, I'm not going to be able to find the others, even though you actually can, but still, it's one of those weird psychological things. So, what are you getting in the Collector's Vault? So disc 1, as I've already mentioned, are all the deep cuts. These were all released on streaming, except for 3 shorts that have brand new restorations on here. So those 3 are A Day at the Zoo, Each Dawn I Crow, and Of Fox and Hounds. And those 3, I'm so glad they finally got their restoration. Especially Day at the Zoo, that one's long overdue. And if you want a sample of that, it's a public domain short, so there's no doubt it's all over YouTube now already, but still, you'll get much better quality on disc. But at least if you want a bit of a sample to see what they've done, you can definitely check that out. But I'll go through the shorts that are on disc 1. Now, of course, on the channel, I'm going to cover every single short made for Warner's, all 1,000 of them, but let's go through what's on this set. I'm not going to give you my in-depth thoughts or anything like that. I'm just going to cover what's actually on here and just give a few little tidbits. And this is in alphabetical order, by the way, and that's the way it's presented if you click the play all function. So you've got Bars and Stripes Forever, an interesting Ben Hardaway and Carl Dalton short, and it's honestly one of their best. Maybe is their best, because that's a pretty weird directing team anyway, but still, it's an interesting curio. You've got Beauty and the Beast, one of the earliest examples of two-strip color that Warner Brothers did, and it's definitely got an interesting look about it. It's definitely a great curio to check out. A Day at the Zoo, this is a great example of Tex Avery trying out new gags in the spot gag format, and a lot of the gags that he does here, he would end up refining over the rest of the years at Warner's and then over at MGM. The Dixie Friar is a Foghorn short that has two other characters, Pappy and Elvis. It's a little bit of an acquired taste, I think, but you know what? I think it's pretty funny. At least McKimson in later years at least actually tried some different things. Double Mutton. Now, if that sounds familiar to you, they released that on the Looney Tunes Collector's Choice Volume 4, and they've acknowledged that it was indeed a flub. They mistakenly duplicated that. So on a Volume 2, they'll be adding one extra short to make up for it. I guess of all shorts they could have duplicated, they picked Double or Mutton. Ha ha. But anyway, great short. Just watch it again. You can't go wrong. Each Dawn I Crow, another brand new restoration. This one is one of those interesting little curios that Frisch Freleng did. And it's got a weird atmosphere about it, about a rooster who thinks he's going to be on the chopping block and he tries to get rid of an axe. And it's very dark, actually. And I'm glad it's restored, though. It's definitely an interesting curio. And it shows that Frisch Freleng like to try varied things every once in a while. Easy Peckins is a wonderful one-shot that involves a fox trying to get chickens. I mean, what else do foxes do? And he ends up encountering George, who is not Foghorn. So it's interesting that McKimson does this whole barnyard thing here, but with a different type of chook. And honestly, this wouldn't have worked with Foghorn as the rooster here, so I'm glad that they did something different here. Feather Dusted, it's a wonderful Egghead Jr. Foghorn Leghorn short. Honestly, all the Egghead Jr. shorts are wonderful to see, and I'm glad this one's on this set. Fox in a Fix, yet another Fox-related short. I guess this one's got a bit of a Fox theme going on here, but that one's a wonderful one by McKimson. And it has that soft-spoken bulldog character that I always enjoyed. Goodnight Elmer, I recently reviewed that at the time of this recording. It's more interesting to see Chuck Jones, how he actually was practicing animation acting and playing with light. It's not particularly funny except for the final bit, but it's still great to see fully restored, even if it's not particularly great short. The Goofy Gophers, planned by Clampett, directed by Art Davis, wonderful short. Would have been interesting to see what Clampett would have done in the end had he done the entire short himself, but what we get though, wonderful short and wonderful characters that came out of that. I'd love to take orders from you. The second Tex Avery Merry Melody short, and it's kind of an interesting one. I think Avery was still finding his feet with the Merry Melodies format in comparison to what he was doing over when it came to the Porky Pigs that he was required to do being a new director. Kitty's Kitty, I'm glad that one has debuted. That has the character Suzanne, who would be in the Looney Tunes comics. It's an interesting one. You do feel sorry for Sylvester in this one, though. You got Let It Be Me, which is an early Frisch Freleng Merry Melody short where they parody Bing Crosby. And they did two, actually, that year, which was kind of interesting. Why? I don't know, but they did. Fox and Hounds, that's Tex Avery's beginnings with the whole Of Mice and Men story that he would end up doing ongoing, both at Warner's and over at MGM. Crocodile Tears, not particularly great, but it's an interesting effort from Art Davis. He actually directed that one cartoon after not directing for such a long time once his animation unit got dissolved in the 40s. But it's great that it's here. Ready, Woolen and Abel, another wonderful Ralph Wolf and Sam Sheepdog short. Love all of those, and I'm glad that one's on the set. Robin Hood Makes Good. It's an early Chuck Jones Merry Melodies effort. Kind of on the slow side, but it's one of his earlier efforts, so there's no surprise there. The Squawk and Hawk, the debut of Henry Hawk, and the debut of the Chuck Jones and Mike Maltese writing team, although there wouldn't be an ongoing writing-directing team proper until the late 40s, but this is the first time that they've actually teamed up. Terrier Stricken, so that's one of the three shorts featuring the Frisky Puppy. along with Claude Cat. It's interesting to see Chuck Jones doing the character acting where you got the frisky puppy, well, obviously acting like a puppy, but then a lot of observations in how cats act as well. Wonderful animation acting. It's not Chuck Jones' best work, but it's still interesting to see. You got 2 Sylvester and Tweety shorts, you got Tweet and Lovely, and you got Tweety Circus. Love Tweety Circus, by the way. Just had to arrange some of the animations in that one. Two's a Crowd, which is yet another Frisky Puppy short, so you got 2 of them on this set. And we finish off with Wild About Hurry and Zip and Snort, 2 wonderful Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner shorts. They're all great, but when you watch more than, say, 2 in a row, it gets a little bit old, so I'm glad that they've got the 2 in here, and that's that. So a lot of them are pretty deep cuts, especially when you have the Frisky Puppy, you've got the first appearance of Henry Hawk, and among other things. Disc 2 would feature more of the things that people may be more familiar with. And we actually start off with an absolute banger, which is Ain't She Tweet, the one featuring Granny with her hundreds of bulldogs that she has in the backyard. Banty Raids, a fine Foghorn Leghorn short. It's one of the last ones, and it's just funny. I just love that whole beatnik rooster that comes around pretending to be a baby and all that. It's an absolute classic. And it showed that even later on, Bob McKimson's shorts actually are pretty decent. He did get the short end of the stick when it came to animators and writers and so on, but sometimes he'll surprise you with a short like this one. Birth of a Notion, a fine short featuring Daffy Duck, and this one has the wonderful vocals of Stan Freberg doing Peter Lorre. And this is another one that was started by Bob Clampett, and in this case was finished by Bob McKimson. Bye Bye Bluebeard, that's the final Art Davis short that he fully completed, and it showed that had his unit not shut down, I still think he would have done some amazing things after that one, but I'm glad we've got it here in high definition. So we got Cattails for 2, which is the first appearance of Speedy Gonzales, kind of. It's an initial version, a prototype Speedy Gonzales, if you will, but that's where he originated from before he was redesigned by Friz Freling's team. Daffy Dealey, a lot of people would be familiar with that one, especially if they've seen Quackbusters. But hey, Daffy Duck as a salesman, you can't go wrong with that. Daffy Duck and Egghead. It's interesting that Tex Avery didn't actually direct that many Daffy Duck shorts, but the few that he did do, all wonderful, all classics in my opinion, and it's great to see this one in high definition. Got another Roadrunner short, Gee Whiz. Another great one, and because that plays amongst other shorts, if you were to watch them in alphabetical order, it doesn't feel like it's out of place or same old, same old. Gonzales Tamales, we've got Speedy Gonzales here, so it's always a treat to see another proper Speedy Gonzales short, and this one is a great one. Hair Conditioned, a great mid-1940s Chuck Jones short. It's always interesting to see the Chuck Jones shorts that he did with Ted Pierce as the writer, before he would team up with Mike Maltese and do all those wonderful shorts that just about everyone knows. Hair Trigger, first appearance of Yosemite Sam, what else can I say? He made a big impact from the start, and it's a wonderful short, even if the character didn't take off. And speaking of Yosemite Sam, Hair Trimmed, that's a wonderful short. So Sam trying to woo this old lady, and Bugs sees what he's trying to do, and then he gets involved. But it's a masterpiece, and I'm glad to see it get its high definition debut. Horton Hatches the Egg, one of the longest Looney Tunes shorts ever made, and it's a wonderful adaptation. It's one of the best Dr. Seuss adaptations in my opinion, and shows that you don't need to pad things out to movie length, like what they're trying to always do with Dr. Seuss adaptations, and always failing as a result. But the fans of Egghead, Junior Short, you'll be happy to know that Little Boy Boo is on this set as well, making its high definition debut. Again, all the Egghead Junior shorts are fantastic. Much Ado About Nothing. I know the name, you might be snickering at it, but that's a play on Much Ado About Nothing, which is a Shakespeare play. In this case, it's a squirrel trying to crack open a nut. In this case, a coconut. Adorable Kitty. That's another curio. So you've got the first appearance of Pepper Le Pew there, which is like 99% complete, except for the twist at the very end that he's not really French, he's an American, and so on. But we get an actual Pepper Le Pew short here, Past Perfumance, and that's a great one. And I'm not even that big a fan of Pepper Le Pew, but that's definitely one of the better ones. Porky's Duck Hunt, great to see this one make its high definition debut. That one, for some reason, never appeared on the Golden Collections, Platinum Collections, and that one's a very important one. Not just for the fact that it's the first appearance of Daffy Duck, but it's also the first appearance of Mel Blanc doing Porky Pig's voice. So you've got all that happening, and I'm glad now it's on a proper Looney Tunes release like this one. He did appear in the Essential Daffy Duck, but that's one of those side sets that almost no one really owned. Rabbit Punch, that's a childhood favorite of mine. It's great to see that make its high definition debut. And honestly, I prefer this one over the wrestling one that Jones did a few years later. I like both, but this one I just thought was a lot funnier. Red Riding Hoodwinked, I actually recently reviewed that one for the channel, and it's a great one. It's one of 5 frizz-freely Red Riding Hood parodies, and yeah, it's definitely one of the better ones. Rhapsody Rabbit, just about everyone knows this one. It's the whole controversy thing between Rhapsody Rabbit along with Cat Concerto, where there was an issue with the fact that both shorts had the same idea. You had Bugs Bunny and his mouse, and you had Tom and Jerry. Literally the same story, literally the same song. But of course, it was Cat Concerto that ended up winning the Oscar, but honestly, they're both great. Snow Business, another 20-year Sylvester short, and it mixes things up a little bit, where the two of them are actually friends in the beginning, and then Sylvester's hungry, and, well, things lead to other gags, including a very hungry mouse that happens to be there as well. Tom, Turk, and Daffy, this one, they brought over in high definition. It never looked the greatest on the Porky Pig and Friends set, but they've definitely improved the colors here and it looks much better. Although they did do one slight tweak that's irked some people because they see it as a bit of a revisionist thing, where there was a frame that apparently wasn't shot correctly at the time, but now it's been fixed for this release. Honestly, if you don't know it, you're not going to really miss much. Okay, so I don't see it that big a deal, but I'm just letting you guys know because, well, you need to know all the info, right? We got 2 crows from tacos, so you got 2 other characters that they tried to maybe make into new stars, but they didn't exactly take off. I mean, who talks about Jose and Manuel, right? The only Manuel I talk about is Emmanuel, my good friend Manuel Cruz, the 2D tenor. Hi, Manny. And last but not least, we finish up with yet another Wile E. Coyote, Roadrunner short, Zoom, and Board. And as with the other 3 on this set, you can't go wrong with a Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner short. So, 50 shorts, 49 that are completely new, with the 1 repeat, as I mentioned before, which was Double or Mutton. But honestly, such great value here. You've got, like I said, 1 disc filled with the deep cuts, and another disc filled with the ones that people might be more familiar with. Now, there's no extras, unfortunately, just like with the Collector's Choice, you don't get anything. And it's interesting because some of these shorts actually had audio commentaries over on the Golden Collections, but they didn't port those over. So definitely hang on to your Golden Collections because it looks like none of the extras will end up being ported. So definitely keep them on the side. But honestly, if we're just focusing on the tunes here, this set is completely fine and the price is right. And I'm glad that they're taking this approach where they're going to have 1 disc full of deep cuts and 1 disc just filled with stuff that's been released before, but now in much better quality. And this can afford them to not only fix things they might have not done as correctly in the past due to the technology, but now they can even improve on things that they perhaps couldn't do before. And one example I've already mentioned is Top Turk and Daffy. Yes, there was that error I mentioned, but in terms of colors, the short does look a lot better than what it did before. So I definitely recommend it. I'll have a link below to this set if you haven't purchased it yet. Do yourself a favor and grab it. A volume 2 is imminent, and hopefully it's going to follow the same formula by having a few new restorations, and then the shorts that are already released via perhaps streaming, they could go back and maybe tweak a little to make it look better, remove Photoshop titles and so on, and then have a second disc of stuff to be upgraded from the Golden Collections or the various other collections like the Superstars sets. It'll be nice to have everything in high definition. I'm sure you all will agree with that. But that will do it for this video. Let me know in the comments which newly restored shorts you want to see, whether it's on the Volume 2, 3, or the future. And who knows, maybe someone might read it and get a bit of an idea. So, yeah, that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and until next time, take care.